I never thought joy could feel like danger, but that's exactly what it felt like the morning my granddaughter asked me to walk her down the aisle. My hands actually shook. My heart raced like something heavy was about to hit. And for a moment, I swear I tasted fear mixed with pride. Because deep down, I knew something was coming, something none of us were ready for. And the strange part? I felt it before it began. The day Emma told me she was getting married, I was trimming the old apple tree behind my house. The sky was the pale blue shade we used to see on her childhood drawings, and the air smelled of cut grass and distant rain. She walked up the path, holding a stack of envelopes tied with a ribbon, smiling the same smile she had when she was 5 and used to sneak cookies from my kitchen. "Grandpa, I need you," she said, breathless. "Something's wrong, and I don't know who else to talk to." That was the first tug in my chest, like life warning me I was about to step into something deeper than a wedding. I wiped my hands on my jeans, motioned for her to sit, and tried to keep my voice steady. "Tell me what happened, sweetheart." She sat on the porch swing, the envelopes trembling between her fingers. I recognized the handwriting before she even opened one. Sharp strokes, heavy pressure, the kind of handwriting that never softened with age, her father's. My son, Mark. We hadn't spoken in 5 years. "He sent these," she whispered, "every week, begging to come to the wedding, begging to see me. But Mom says I have to ignore him." She swallowed hard. "She said he'll ruin everything." I felt the old familiar twist in my stomach, a knot made of history, regret, and every mistake that man ever made. Mark and I had fought too many times to count, always about responsibility, always about him disappearing when it mattered, but I never hated him. I couldn't. He was still my boy, even if life had reshaped him into someone I barely recognized. "Did he say what he wants?" I asked quietly. Emma nodded and untied the ribbon. Letters spilled into her lap, some wrinkled, some fresh, all aching with desperation. She opened one and handed it to me. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But please, Em, don't marry without letting me see you. I promise. Just 5 minutes. I need to say what I should have said years ago." Emma wiped her eyes. "Mom says he's lying, that he'll show up drunk or angry or with some kind of drama like he always does. She says if I let him in, she won't come to the ceremony." There it was, the threat that cut deepest. The reason for Emma's trembling hands. I leaned back, listening to the wind brush against the porch roof, feeling that same tightening in my chest. Something was wrong, but not in the way her mother feared. It felt different, heavier. "What do you want?" I asked her. She lifted her face, eyes shining with a pain that didn't belong in a girl her age. "I want peace, Grandpa. I want to walk down the aisle without thinking someone's missing. I want both sides of my heart in the same room." Her voice cracked, and so did something inside me. I reached for her hands. "Then we'll figure it out together. Whatever happens, you're not facing it alone." She exhaled, shaky but relieved, and rested her head on my shoulder. For a moment, it felt like the world stilled around us. The apple leaves rustled, the air cooled, and unease settled deeper into my bones. Because as much as I wanted to protect her, I knew family wounds don't stay quiet forever. 2 days later, the first sign came. I was sweeping my front steps when an unfamiliar car pulled into my driveway. Shiny, expensive tinted windows. A man stepped out, tall, rigid, with a suit too sharp for our small town. His eyes scanned my house like he was measuring its weaknesses. "Thomas Bennett?" he asked. "That's me." He handed me a card embossed with a name I recognized only from whispered family arguments and court documents I'd prayed Emma would never see. "I represent your son," he said. "He intends to be at the wedding, with or without permission." A cold wind seemed to slip through the heat of the afternoon. "Why come to me?" I asked slowly. "Because," he said, stepping closer, lowering his voice, "he knows his daughter will listen to you, and he knows her mother won't." He slipped the card into my hand. "And because, if he isn't allowed to attend peacefully," his eyes sharpened, "he might come anyway." The man returned to his car, leaving dust swirling where he'd stood. I felt my heartbeat thrum in my fingertips. This wasn't just about old wounds opening. This was about something pressing toward us fast. something I wasn't sure I could stop. That night, as I sat on my porch holding the card, the wind shifted again. A storm was building on the horizon, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the wedding wasn't going to be the celebration we'd hoped for. It was going to be the moment everything we'd kept buried finally clawed its way to the surface. I didn't know it then, but the real danger was already walking toward us, and it was wearing my son's face. I barely slept that night. Every few minutes I'd wake to the same image, Emma walking down the aisle while a shadow moved behind the guests, just out of sight, just close enough for me to feel it. Morning came in a wash of gray clouds, the kind that promise rain even if the forecast insists on sunshine. By the time Emma arrived, the sky looked bruised. She burst into my kitchen without knocking, cheeks flushed, dress still wrinkled from being crumpled in her backpack. "Mom's furious," she said before I could even ask. "She found the letters. She thinks I've been hiding things from her. She says letting Dad come is out of the question." I guided her to the kitchen table, the one where she used to color with crayons while I peeled apples for her after school. It felt too small for conversations like this now. "What exactly did your mother say?" I asked. Emma's hands twisted in her lap. "She said he doesn't deserve a second chance, that he's only doing this because he wants attention. She said the day is supposed to be about love, not about broken people trying to fix things at the worst moment." Her voice cracked on broken. I hated hearing that word come from her mouth. It wasn't hers to carry. I poured us both tea, though neither of us touched it. "Sweetheart," I said gently, "your father isn't the only one who's made mistakes." Emma's head snapped up. "Are you saying Mom's wrong?" "I'm saying pain makes people build walls they think will keep them safe. But walls don't just keep danger out. They keep healing out too." She leaned back, pressing her palms to her forehead. "I don't know what to do. If I let him come, Mom will explode. If I don't, I'll regret it for the rest of my life." "Maybe the question isn't who gets invited," I said softly. "Maybe it's who you're willing to lose." Her breath caught. The truth has a way of doing that. Before either of us could speak again, we heard the crunch of gravel outside. Emma went pale. "Please tell me that's not—" It wasn't her father, it was her mother, and she wasn't alone. The front door flung open before I even reached the hallway. Sarah stormed in, her eyes blazing, followed by Emma's fiancé, Lucas, who looked like he'd aged 5 years overnight. "Emma!" Sarah snapped, ignoring me completely. "We are leaving, now." Emma stood slowly, like she was facing a firing squad. "Mom, we're talking—" "No," Sarah cut in. "You are not dragging your grandfather into this mess. And you are not entertaining your father's manipulative nonsense. Do you hear me?" "Sarah," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "She's not dragging anyone into anything. She came to talk." "And that's exactly the problem," she shot back. "Talking gives him power. Talking makes her doubt herself. Talking makes her weak." Emma stiffened. "I'm not weak." "You are vulnerable," Sarah insisted. "And he knows it." Lucas laid a hand on her arm. "Mrs. Bennett, maybe we should calm down." "Stay out of this, Lucas," she said sharply. "You have no idea what that man is capable of." That man, her father, my son. The room tightened around us. Emma took a shuddering breath. "Mom, he just wants 5 minutes. He lost that right years ago. He's still my father, and he will ruin your wedding." "Why?" Emma cried, stepping forward. "Why do you think that? Why is he such a threat to you?" Sarah's jaw flexed. "Because I know him." "No," Emma whispered, "because you hate him." Silence. Thick, cold silence. Then Sarah's eyes shifted to me, sharper than the storm clouds gathering outside. "This is your fault," she said. The words didn't shout. They stabbed. "If you hadn't kept contacting him," she continued, "if you hadn't tried to fix things, he wouldn't be hovering around again. He wouldn't be trying to claw his way back into our lives." I blinked. "I haven't spoken to him in over a year." Emma's head turned toward me fast. "You haven't?" "No," I said. "Not since he left treatment the last time. I told him I'd be here if he wanted to try again, but I didn't push." Sarah scoffed. "He doesn't come back because he loves you. He comes back because he knows you'll always open the door." Emma's breath hitched. "Mom, please." "No," Sarah snapped. He destroyed everything once. I won't let him do it again. Not on your wedding day, not when you finally have a chance at a life without all that chaos. Emma sank into a chair, shaking. So, I have to choose? Yes, her mother said. You do. I felt something inside me go cold. Sarah, this isn't fair. It's reality, she shot back. Some people are poison, Tom, and you should know that better than anyone. The room fell quiet again. Only the sound of Emma's breathing breaking the stillness. Then she stood up abruptly, grabbed her bag, and brushed past all of us toward the door. I reached for her arm. She pulled away gently, her voice barely audible. I just need to think, alone. Wait, Lucas said, hurrying after her. Let me come with you. No, she whispered. I just need air. The door closed behind her, the sound ringing like a warning bell. Sarah exhaled sharply, shaking with frustration. This is what he does, she muttered. He tears everything apart. But something in her tone didn't sound like anger. It sounded like fear. Real fear. I watched her leave, watched Lucas hesitate before following her, and stood alone in my quiet kitchen as the storm finally broke across the sky. Thunder rolled, lightning flashed. And I was left staring at the card the man in the suit had given me, the one with my son's number printed in sharp black ink. For the first time in years, I picked up my phone, because whatever was coming for that wedding, it wasn't just family drama, and I was starting to wonder if my son wasn't the only one hiding something. The rain hammered the roof through the night, a steady, restless tapping that refused to let me sleep. I kept replaying Emma's face. She looked torn in half, like her heart was being pulled in two directions at once. And her mother. She wasn't just angry. She was terrified. Of what, though? Of who? Around dawn, the storm finally settled into a dull drizzle. I sat on the porch with a mug of coffee gone lukewarm in my hands, staring at my phone. I dialed my son's number twice already, but hung up before it connected. I didn't know what I wanted from him. Answers, maybe, or honesty, or closure. Instead, I got headlights in my driveway. It was Lucas. He stepped out of his small hatchback looking rumpled, like he hadn't slept either. His hair was damp from the mist, and he held a large envelope under his jacket, shielding it from the rain. "Morning, Mr. Bennett," he said, voice tight. "Tom," I corrected gently. "Come in before you get soaked." Inside, he didn't sit. He paced, back and forth across my small living room, wearing a path in the rug Emma used to spill ice cream on. "Did Emma come here last night?" he asked abruptly. "No," I said. "I thought she was with you." His jaw clenched. "She left, just drove off. Didn't answer her phone." A deep unease surged through me. Emma wasn't the type to disappear, not without a reason. Before I could speak, he held out the envelope. "She left this on my kitchen table. I haven't opened it yet." I stared at it for a long moment before sliding the papers out. My heart slammed in my chest as I saw the return address. County Records Department. "What is this?" Lucas asked. I unfolded the first sheet. A birth certificate. Emma's birth certificate. Except one box didn't match. Father, not Mark Bennett, another name. A name I'd never seen in my life. I felt my breath thin. "Lucas, do you know who this is?" "No," he said. "But Emma must have found out yesterday, after the fight." Another page slipped from the envelope, this one older. Officers' warnings, custody filings, faded ink. I scanned them quickly, then stopped cold at the highlighted line. Recommend protective order for child and mother due to ongoing harassment from biological father. I felt dizzy. Lucas sank into a chair. "Mr. Bennett, are you saying Mark isn't her father?" I swallowed hard. "It looks that way." "But then why did Emma grow up thinking he was?" Lucas whispered. "Why did he?" That question sat between us like a living thing. The front door burst open before either of us could speak. Sarah. Her hair was wet from the rain, her face blotchy and tight, like she'd been crying or yelling, or both. She looked from me to Lucas to the papers on the table, and her expression froze. "Where did you get those?" she demanded. "Emma left them," Lucas said quietly. "She knows." Sarah's shoulders slumped, a brief flicker of exhaustion slipping through her mask before she straightened again. "She wasn't supposed to find out like this," she whispered. "Not now, not like this." "Why didn't you tell her?" I asked. "Because I was trying to protect her," Sarah snapped, louder than she meant to. "Do you have any idea what that man did to us?" Something in her eyes, a flicker of real fear, made me step back. But before I could ask, Lucas's phone buzzed violently on the table. He grabbed it fast. "It's Emma," he breathed. "She texted." He opened the message. 3 words. I found him. My stomach dropped. "Found who?" Sarah demanded. Lucas swallowed hard. "She has the birth certificate. She must have gone looking for her. Her real father." Sarah staggered, gripping the back of the chair like the room had tilted. "No, no, no, no. She can't go to him. She can't." I moved toward her. "Sarah, what's going on?" Her voice cracked. "You don't understand. He's not just some mistake. He's dangerous." Lucas looked up sharply. "Where does he live?" "I don't know where he is now," she whispered. "But last I heard, he moved back to the county." The room spun with possibilities, none of them good. Then I saw something sticking out of the envelope, a torn corner of a printed map. I pulled it free. A street name was circled in red, not a neighborhood I recognized, but Sarah did. Her face went white as bone. Oh God, Tom, if she went there... Before she could finish, Lucas was out the door. I grabbed my coat and followed, heart pounding so fast it felt like it was trying to escape my chest. "Tom," Sarah called after me, voice trembling, "whatever happens, don't let her be alone with him." Thunder rumbled again in the distance. I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't need to. The truth was in her eyes. Something had been buried for 20 years, something Mark never knew, something Emma was walking straight into. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of my son's mistakes. I was afraid of someone else entirely, someone who had just learned Emma existed and might not let her go. We were halfway down the old highway when the storm finally broke open. Sheets of rain slapped the windshield so hard I could barely see the road. Lucas leaned forward in the passenger seat, gripping the dashboard, his breath fogging the glass. "Are we close?" he asked, voice strained. "2 more turns," I said, though my hands were trembling on the wheel. The closer we got, the heavier the air felt, like we were driving straight into the heart of something we'd been avoiding for years. The address circled on the map wasn't a neighborhood at all. It was a forgotten stretch near the county edge, patches of farmland, rusted fences, crooked mailboxes. The kind of place where the world feels too quiet, too far from the safety of streetlights and neighbors. I remembered passing that area once long ago. My son still lived with us then. He was 16, angry, restless, and he'd just gotten into a fight at school. On our drive home, he'd told me about a man who lived out here, a man who didn't need rules, who didn't take crap from anyone, someone he'd called the kind of father every kid wished they had. I remembered how cold my skin felt when he said it, and now my granddaughter was heading straight toward that same address. We reached the turnoff, a dirt road swallowed by trees. My headlights cut through the dark, revealing mud, puddles, and a sign so bent it was unreadable. "This can't be right," Lucas muttered, but the number matched, and I felt something cold settle in my bones. As we crept forward, Lucas suddenly leaned closer to the window. "There," he whispered. "Isn't that her car?" A small blue hatchback was parked crookedly on the side of the road, its hazard lights blinking weakly through the rain. My heart stopped for a second. "Emma!" I slammed the brakes, jumped out before the car fully stopped, and ran toward her vehicle. It was empty. Driver's door locked, umbrella missing from the back seat, footprints in the mud trailing toward a cluster of trees at the end of the driveway. Behind us, Lucas caught up. She walked in. She actually went inside. We followed the muddy trail until a house appeared through the rain. 2 stories, leaning slightly, its porch sagging like an old man's shoulders. A single light glowed in the window, yellow and sickly, the kind of light that doesn't feel warm, just watchful. Lucas whispered, "Do we knock?" "We don't have a choice," I said. But before we reached the porch, the front door opened. Emma stood there, soaking wet, pale, eyes wide with something I couldn't read. Shock, confusion, fear. "Grandpa," she breathed. How did you..." I stepped forward, relief flooding me. Emma, thank God. Are you hurt? Are you? But then a shadow moved behind her, and a man stepped into view. Tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair threaded with gray, a look on his face that made something old and instinctive tighten in my chest. I knew him. Not his name, not his story. But I knew the type. His gaze flicked over me and Lucas like we were items on a shelf he wasn't impressed by. Then he placed a hand lightly on Emma's shoulder, not gripping, but close enough to claim space that didn't belong to him. She's fine, he said. You didn't need to come. Something hot burned behind my ribs. Who are you? I asked. He smirked a little. You must be Tom. The way he said my name made my skin crawl. Emma stepped between us, her breath shaky. Grandpa, I'm okay. I just needed to talk to him. Alone? I asked quietly. In a place like this, with a man you've never met? Her jaw tightened. He's my father. The word struck me harder than a slap. No. Not father, biological maybe, but a father is someone who shows up, who protects, who tries. This man, he watched us like we were toys he'd just unwrapped. I only wanted to finally meet her, he said calmly. Is that a crime? Lucas stepped forward. You could have met her in public, in daylight, at a cafe, anywhere but this. The man shrugged. I didn't choose the location. She drove here on her own. I turned to Emma. Is that true? Her eyes darted away. That hesitation told me everything. She didn't trust him either, but she wanted answers more than she wanted safety. She said softly, I just wanted to understand why Mom hid him, why she lied. And did he give you answers? I asked. She didn't respond, because she didn't know if she'd gotten the truth. A low rumble of thunder rolled across the sky, shaking the windows. The man stepped a little closer to Emma, almost protectively, almost possessively. I told her everything, he said. Your daughter has a right to know who I am. And who are you? I asked again, voice steady but firm. His smile sharpened. A man who deserved to be in her life from the beginning, he said. But someone made sure that never happened. His eyes locked on me then, not on Sarah, not on the past, on me. And for the first time that night, something clicked, the kind of click that feels like a trap snapping shut. This wasn't about a daughter wanting the truth. This wasn't even about a mother hiding the past. This man wasn't looking at Emma. He was looking at me. Something deeper was beneath all this, something he hadn't said yet. Emma whispered, Grandpa, please don't be angry. I just wanted to hear him out. I stepped to her side. Sweetheart, I said quietly, I'm not angry. I'm just trying to understand why this man knew your name before you ever knocked on his door. Her breath caught, and the man's smile faded. The tension in the air grew heavy. Let's not play games, he said coldly. There's more going on here than you know, Tom. He stepped into the doorway fully, blocking Emma just enough to make every instinct in me sharpen. You came looking for answers, he said. He glanced at me with a look that didn't feel like recognition. It felt like accusation. Then let's tell her the truth, he continued softly, dangerously. All of it. Emma looked between us, panic rising in her eyes. What truth? The man's voice dropped even lower. The truth about why Sarah really kept me away. The storm outside cracked with lightning. Emma swallowed. Why? Why would she do that? The man stared at me. Not at Lucas, not at the rain, at me. And suddenly, I understood. Something in this story wasn't missing. Something was being hidden from me. And whatever this man was about to reveal, it wasn't going to break Sarah. It wasn't going to break Emma. It was going to break me. Tell her, Tom, the man said, his voice cold as the rain. Tell her what you did. For a moment, the rain, the wind, even the thunder seemed to go still. I stood there on that creaking porch, rainwater dripping from my hair, staring at a man whose eyes carried a kind of satisfaction I didn't understand yet. Emma turned toward me slowly, her face pale and expectant, as if waiting for a truth she never imagined she'd hear. What? You did? She whispered. I forced myself to breathe, to center my voice. I don't know what he's talking about. The man barked a laugh, not loud, but sharp. Oh, You know exactly what I'm talking about, Tom. 18 years ago, half an hour before midnight, a phone call you never told anyone about. My stomach dropped so suddenly I felt lightheaded, because I had gotten a phone call like that, but not from him, not from anyone I knew. Grandpa? Emma stepped closer to me. What's he saying? I swallowed, trying to find words, but the man cut me off with a slow shake of his head. No more lies, he said quietly. Not tonight. He stepped forward into the doorway, and the dim yellow light behind him threw shadows across his face, making the lines in his expression look sharp and hollow. Your mother didn't hide me because she was scared of me, he told Emma. She hid me because someone warned her to. His gaze locked on mine. That someone was your grandfather. A cold wave passed through me so strong it felt like a hand tightening around my spine. Emma's breath hitched. Grandpa, is that true? I shook my head instantly. Emma, I never... The man cut in again, his voice growing eerily calm. Your mother and I were fighting back then. A lot. I wasn't proud of it. But I never laid a hand on her, never threatened her. All I wanted was to be part of your life, to see you, to hold you just once. His voice cracked, not dramatically, not theatrically, just enough to unsettle me. And then, out of nowhere, I got a call from a blocked number, he continued, warning me that if I didn't stop trying to contact her, if I didn't back off and disappear, something would happen. I stared at him, confusion twisting into something colder. I didn't make that call, I said. Oh, come on, he murmured, eyes narrowing. You think I wouldn't recognize your voice? My pulse pounded in my ears. I've never spoken to you in my life. He stepped closer, the porch groaning beneath his weight. A low, stern voice. Older, firm. You said if I showed up again, if I ever came near Sarah or the baby, there would be consequences. Your exact words. Emma's eyes snapped to me, wide and terrified. Did you say that? I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Not because I was guilty, but because a memory was rising, foggy, disjointed, unsettling. A phone call, a late night, a trembling voice, but not me speaking. Emma, I said finally, my voice trembling. Sweetheart, I promise you, I never threatened anyone. I never called this man. The man's jaw tightened. You threatened me with the police. You said you had connections. You said you could keep me away from my own child. I didn't, I said again, but my voice wasn't as strong now, because suddenly I didn't trust my own memory. Not fully. Not after everything that had happened that year. Not after the grief, the chaos, the whirlwind of protecting Sarah after my son fell apart. The way some nights blurred into others, and that tiny, terrifying possibility. What if the call did happen? What if I didn't remember? Emma took a step away from both of us, her voice shaking. I need some air. She stumbled off the porch and into the yard, hands pressed against her forehead as rain soaked her hair. I followed her instinctively, but she lifted a hand to stop me. Grandpa, please, she whispered. I need a minute. Behind me, Lucas confronted the man. You have no proof he made that call, Lucas said. This could all be in your head. The man smiled faintly, a tired, weary smile that didn't match the tension boiling between us. I kept the voicemail, he said quietly. Every muscle in my body froze. No, I whispered. That's not possible. He slipped a phone from his pocket. An old model, scratched, dinged, clearly ancient. I saved it, he said. Not because I wanted to, because every time I thought about trying again, about reaching out, I listened to this and remembered the threat. He scrolled, tapped, then hit play. Static. Cracking, a faint hum, then a voice. Deep, rough, firm. Stay away from her. Stay away from the baby. We will bury you legally if we have to. My heart felt like it dropped out of my chest. Emma stared at me, rain streaking her cheeks. Grandpa, that sounds like... I didn't say that, I said hoarsely. That's not me. That's not my voice. The man raised an eyebrow. Funny, it sounds exactly like you. No, I whispered again, backing up a step, because now something new hit me. Not guilt, but fear, and not fear of this man. Fear of who else knew enough, cared enough, or hated enough to make that call pretending to be me. Fear of the shadow, I couldn't quite remember. A shadow tied to that year, to my son, to Sarah, to secrets buried so deep they were finally clawing their way back out. Lucas's voice broke through the rain. "Sir, when did you get that message?" The man sighed. 18 years ago, the night before Emma was born. I felt the world tilt. Emma pressed both hands to her mouth. Mom went into labor the next morning. The man nodded. She never let me see the baby, never returned a call, never answered the door, and a week later, she moved. I closed my eyes because suddenly I remembered something. Not a phone call, not a threat, but a night when my son stood in my doorway, soaked from the rain, trembling with rage, whispering words I'd nearly forgotten. If he comes near her again, I swear I'll handle it. I'll make sure he disappears. My breath stuttered. Because now the truth wasn't a single sharp knife. It was a dozen stabbing from different memories, different fears, different timelines. Emma stepped closer to me, voice tiny. "Grandpa, did Dad?" I couldn't finish her sentence, because suddenly I wasn't sure of anything. The man spoke quietly, almost sadly. "I didn't come here to fight. I didn't come to take her away. I just wanted the truth. After 18 years, I wanted her to know I wasn't the monster Sarah made me out to be." He looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. Not anger, not hatred, but disappointment, and something that felt almost like pity. "Tom," he said softly, "you told her mother I was dangerous. You kept me out. You decided for all of us." I shook my head helplessly. I don't understand. I didn't call you. I swear I didn't call you." "Then someone used your name," he said. The wind howled through the trees behind us, bending branches until they creaked like old bones. And for the first time since the storm began, I felt something worse than fear. I felt certainty. Someone had used my name, someone who knew I'd be blamed, someone who wanted him gone, someone who had the most to lose if he stayed. And I knew exactly who that someone was. Not me, not Sarah, not this man, but the one person whose silence all these years suddenly made horrible, dangerous sense. My son, Mark. Emma turned toward me slowly, waiting for me to deny it. But I couldn't. Not now. Not anymore. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the four of us in stark white light. And right then, at the edge of the trees, a figure stepped out. Rain soaking him, eyes wild, face pale. Mark. He stared at us like a ghost finally crashing into the living, and his voice trembled as he spoke. "Dad, don't say another word." For a second, nobody moved. The rain softened to a slow, steady patter, like even the sky was waiting to hear what would happen next. Mark stood at the edge of the porch light, soaked through, shivering. Not from cold, but from something far deeper. Shame, fear, maybe both. Emma whispered his name like it hurt to say it. "Dad?" He didn't look at her, not yet. His eyes were locked on me, and I saw something in them I hadn't seen since he was a boy who'd broken a neighbor's window and didn't know how to tell the truth. "Dad," he repeated, voice hoarse. "Don't say anything else. Please." The man, Emma's biological father, shifted, tense, like a confrontation was seconds away. Lucas stepped closer to Emma, shielding her without making it obvious. My own breath felt trapped somewhere high in my chest. "Mark," I said quietly, "what are you doing here?" He finally stepped closer, boots sinking into the wet ground. Drops of rain slid down his face, mixing with something that looked dangerously like tears. "I followed Emma," he said softly. "I knew where she was going the moment she ran out yesterday." Emma's voice cracked. "You knew?" "Of course I knew," he whispered, looking at her for the first time, a long, tortured look. "Your mother and I have been terrified of this day since the moment you were born." Emma took a small step back. "Why? Why would you hide something like this from me?" Mark swallowed hard, eyes flicking to the man behind her. "Because I was trying to protect you." "And from what?" she demanded, tears finally spilling. "From the truth? From him? From yourself?" He didn't answer. Instead, he turned to the man he'd once threatened, truly, not through me, but with his own reckless fury all those years ago. "You don't deserve to be here," Mark said quietly. "Not now, not after everything." The man's jaw tightened. "And you do?" Mark flinched like he'd been struck. "Stop," Emma said, stepping between them. "Just stop. I need answers. I need the truth, all of it, not half of it, not the twisted version, the truth." Her voice shook, but it was strong enough to halt both men. She turned to her father. "My son." "Dad, did you make that call?" Silence. The rain picked up again, like the world was holding its breath. Mark closed his eyes. "Yes." The word tore something inside Emma. I saw her fold in on herself, like the world shifted under her feet. Lucas caught her before she stumbled. The man exhaled slowly, anger tightening his jaw. "So it was you." Mark nodded miserably. "I was young. I was stupid. I was terrified she'd choose you over me. I loved her. I thought she and I could make a family. I thought if you stayed away, she'd come back. I didn't know she was pregnant with Emma yet. Not at first." He looked at his daughter again, broken, desperate. "When I found out she was having a baby, I begged her to let me raise you, but then she told me you weren't mine, and something in me snapped. I told her I didn't care. I wanted to be your father anyway. I wanted a chance." Emma stared at him, frozen. "She said no," he whispered. "She said you deserve better. And when I wouldn't accept it, she showed me the paperwork, the DNA test she'd done on her own." He wiped his face, breath shaking. "I thought it was fake. I accused her of lying. I followed her. I begged her. I made a mess of everything. And then," he choked on the memory, "and then she told me if I didn't stop, she'd take out a restraining order on me and you." The man behind Emma shook his head. "She told me you threatened her." Mark's voice dropped to a breaking whisper. "No, I never threatened her. I begged her." He pressed a hand to his forehead, like the weight of those memories was physically crushing him. "But I hated you," he said to the man. "God, I hated you. I blamed you for everything that didn't happen, for the life I couldn't have, and that night, I made that call to scare you, to push you away. I thought it would be enough to make you leave for good." He laughed once, short, bitter. "It worked." Emma's face twisted. "Why didn't you ever tell me? Why didn't Mom?" Mark looked at me then, eyes raw. "Because she was afraid I'd relapse, because she thought the truth would break me, because we both knew the moment you learned who he was, everything would change." He gestured helplessly toward the man behind her. "Because he was the reminder of everything I wasn't, everything I failed to be, and your mother, she thought it would destroy you." Emma's chin trembled, tears streaming faster now. "It did," she whispered. And that was when my son finally collapsed, not onto the ground, but inward, shoulders shaking, chest heaving, sobs tearing out of him like they'd been trapped for decades. "I'm sorry," he choked. "I am so damn sorry, Em. I'm not your real father, but God, I tried to be." Emma stared at him for a long, breaking moment, something fragile in her expression cracking deeper and deeper until she finally whispered, "You are my father." Mark looked up, shocked. "Maybe not by blood," she said, "but by everything that matters. You raised me, you fed me, you taught me, you hugged me when I cried, you stayed even when you were falling apart. You're the one who showed up." She took a shaky breath. "But you lied to me, and Mom lied to me. You stole a choice I had the right to make." She turned to the man standing behind her, the one who'd watched quietly, grief creeping into his own eyes. "And you let him. You gave up. You believed a stranger instead of trying again." He swallowed hard. "I thought I was doing what was best for you both." "You weren't," she whispered. Then she stepped back, away from both of them, until she was standing next to me again, small, shaking, soaked through, but stronger than I had ever seen her. "Grandpa," she said softly, "can we go home?" I nodded and wrapped my arm around her shoulders, feeling her tremble against me. Mark wiped his face. "Emma, please, can we—" "Not today," she said quietly. "Not like this." The man behind her stepped forward slightly. "I don't want to disappear again. but I won't force myself into your life. If you want me, I'll be here." Emma didn't answer. Not yet. And maybe not for a long time. But she didn't tell him no. We walked back toward the car slowly. The rain easing into a soft drizzle. Lightning flickered one last time in the distance, fading, not threatening anymore. As I opened the passenger door for her, she looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. "Grandpa?" she whispered. "Yes, sweetheart." "Will my wedding be ruined because of all this?" I brushed a strand of wet hair from her face. "No," I said gently. "Your wedding will be honest, maybe painful, maybe different, but not ruined. The truth isn't ruin, Emma. It's the place you start again." She leaned into me, finally letting herself breathe. And as we drove away from that old, broken house, leaving two men standing in the rain behind us, I realized something I'd been too afraid to admit. For 18 years, a lie held our family together. Now the truth would either tear us apart or rebuild us into something better. And for the first time since the storm began, I felt hope, raw, fragile, but real.